What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Balanced Perception YouTube channel. And today, as you can tell by the title, we 3D printed our first helmet. I know this doesn't exactly look like a helmet, but let's see if we can get all these pieces together and then it'll start to resemble a helmet. So let's hop to that. Let's get into this episode and get everything done. So let's get to it. So I have 3D printed a lot of items, but not very many helmets. I actually forgot I did 3D print a Mandalorian helmet for a customer, but this is the first helmet for me. So what exactly is this? Well, I was going to print the other half of this helmet on my CR10S5, but I got impatient, so I split it up into 4 pieces that I have to assemble now and glue together, and then we have to go get the other piece, which actually just finished. It's on the printer right behind you guys. Flip to you, show you that, pull it off the bed, bring it over here, and get to assembling. So let's look at that. So here we have the other piece of the helmet on my CR10 V3. That's what it looks like in all of its glory. You guys can't see, but let's just pick up the camera and get a bit closer here. Maybe you can finally see it. There we go. 2 days, 10 hours, 20 minutes for this print to finish. All right, guys, so here we have all the pieces. There's one, flip it around, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that make up this helmet. And it did come out pretty well, if I do say myself. It is a little bit small, as in I have to push it down on my head more than I want to, but otherwise, it's pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and glue together all these pieces, and then we're gonna get to filling in the seams. Okay guys, so it's actually been several hours and our glue is completely dry. As you can see, the Cubone helmet is completely together, and as you can see, it does, well, there we go, fit on my head. I'm looking through the nostrils right now, and I'll probably end up actually wearing it. I've seen a lot of people wear it more so just like on this part of their head and not all the way down, because the Pokemon Cubone has eye sockets right here, which are on the sides of his head. Our eyes face forward, so it's a lot more difficult for it to be, you know, basically accurate. Anyways, though, I digress. We're gonna go ahead and fill in the seam lines. I'll get a closer view for you guys. And I was watching Uncle Jesse's videos, and he used a combination of resin and baby powder. So that's what we're gonna be using here. I'm gonna thicken it up. He, again, didn't show like a exact ratio. He said 1 to 1, so basically we're gonna try to do that because we're using a liquid and a powder. I'm not gonna measure it out, but you know, just get as close as possible. And we're gonna fill in the seams here with that. So go ahead and mix this up and proceed forward. Had to also stop off at Walmart because I ran out of nitrile gloves. And again, this stuff is carcinogenic, so don't let it touch your hands. But let's get to work. All right, so you can see the seam lines here. Hopefully you guys can see that. It gets a little bit bigger right here where all 4 sections comes together, a little bit here. So we're gonna go ahead and try to fill that in, and going to be dumping our Anycubic resin into this little glass that we have here. I don't have any idea exactly how much, so we're just gonna dump that in there. And then we just have some good old Equate baby powder. Actually, I wonder if I get to, no, can't take that lid off exactly. So we're just gonna dump that in there. And then we're gonna try to mix it. Well, we're not gonna try, we are gonna mix it and try to make it as viscous as possible. And we're gonna see how this goes. So, I got some in my mouth. Anyways, we're mixing. It's still very liquidy, as you can tell. Not in a solid form just yet, exactly. So I'm gonna dump some more. If you guys have worked with wood filler, that's the thickness or the consistency that I'm going for. So we're just gonna keep adding and adding until we get to there. So just gonna get this done and hopefully see you guys in a minute. We're gonna dump a lot more in there. Apparently it takes a ton of baby powder to make this stuff very thick. Yeah, hopefully that right there wasn't just too much. Yep, and I feel like that was just a little bit too much. So we'll add a little bit more resin. try to balance it back out. And I'm actually starting to run out of resin here. I have been using this bottle for God knows how long, but a little $20 bottle has gone a very, very long way. And I feel like maybe that was a little bit too much resin. I don't know, let's see. It's looking actually pretty good, kind of like pancake batter. See if you guys can see that. I want it a little bit thicker so like it's not runny, and like right now it's still runny. So I'm just gonna keep mixing this and doing this process until I get it to where I feel is acceptable. So 1 second. All right, so I got it to the thickness that I want. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's not super watery, but it's kind of more like goopy, almost like I said, like pancake batter. So we're gonna go ahead and try to use that. And then once we coat all of our seams, we are going to go ahead and harden it, just slowly, you know, step by step. So let's give this a go. And I'm trying not to use way too much, as it does remove a lot of the detail, as Uncle Jesse was saying. I've dealt with that before, but you know, you can only do what you can do. So we're just gonna coat this. And I, of course, made way too much, but it's my first time trying it, so it is what it is. And so I'm just gonna coat this all over, harden it, and then we're going to take a look at the final results. So see you guys in a bit. Just here's a closer look at those seams before we actually get into filling them all. This is how they're looking. So this is a base. All right guys, so we've done our first few layers of resin. I haven't hardened it yet, but as you can see, it's definitely filling in the cracks. I've definitely noticed that I have to start hardening before I can put on more layers, because it's really just seeping through. So I'm also just taking the brush and trying to get it out of any of the actual details of the print. You know, just trying to save as much as possible. But I think this is gonna look really good. So we're gonna go ahead and hit it with our UV light, and then we're just gonna keep layering it on there. I mean, this is a perfect example here. You guys can see this crack is almost completely filled in. I hope you guys can see that. I kind of don't want to touch the camera because my hands are filled with resin, but let's see if I can get it to focus in. Yeah, right here, you can see like it's completely filled in already. So we're gonna hit it with UV light. I'm gonna paint it some more with more resin, and we're gonna look at the final product. All right, so after about an hour or so of just, you know, trying to go over everything, this is what we have ended up with. You can see where the lighter gray is, that, you know, that's where the seam line is, and it's completely filled in. When you run your fingers over it, you do not feel a crack anymore, and it's completely filled it in. I will admit that it's taking me a little bit more time to cure it because of the thickening of the baby powder, but that's just something you can work with. I may put a little bit more in here, stuff like that, but overall this looks really, really good, and I'm really excited about the next part of this project. So I would definitely consider this a success. All right, so this is what we are left with. You can see the inside I didn't actually do. Not worried about that. But one thing I really do like about resin too is that it strengthens the overall print. So now this sucker is even more joined together than it previously was. Our next step for this helmet are gonna be to sand away the excess, and then we're gonna go ahead and spray it with primer, and then paint the whole thing brown, and then paint the, I guess, highlights, as you can call them, in yellow. I mean, not in yellow, in white. So that's the next steps I have for this helmet. But thank you guys so much for coming along on this journey with me with the beginning of this helmet. This is part one. Again, thank you, Uncle Jesse, for showing me how to thicken resin and use it to cover seam lines. I'm really looking forward to how this is gonna look when I actually spray paint it, because that's when you really, really see the seam lines come out. And I'm thinking they're gonna look really good, like basically be invisible. And that's what I mean by look really good. But anyways, thank you guys so much for checking out this episode. And look forward to many more in the future. So until next time, stay boundless. See you all. Bye-bye.